So this is a Netflix release, came out a couple of months ago. It has a couple of Oscar nominations about marathon swimmer Diana Nyad, played by Annette Bening, and her best friend and coach Bonnie Stoll, played by Jodie Foster. Diana Nyad was a marathon swimmer who had some incredible feats. She swam around Manhattan in like 24 hours. Like this, we're talking about extreme marathon swimming. She had 100 miles swim in the Caribbean. She did all this in her 20s. She attempted to swim from Cuba to Florida when she was 28. She got about a third of the way there, got knocked way off course, and had to stop the swim, and then promptly retired. So we catch up with her 30 years later. She's turned 60. She's a very difficult person. She rubs everyone the wrong way. She kind of is mean. She thinks everyone is underachieving and no one tries hard enough. And she just feels a little ennui with life, and she comes with a crazy idea. She wants to attempt this swim again. It's 110 miles in shark infested, jellyfish infested waters. You got to have the right current, right time of the year, right time. Everything's got to go right. And she wants to do it again. Her coach Bonnie, again played by Jodie Foster, is like, I don't know, you couldn't do it when you were 28. Can you really do it when you were 60? And so they set off on this adventure to attempt to complete this feat again, taking multiple attempts, putting together a team, because you got to have a boat. You got to kind of swim next to a boat the whole time to follow along. You got to have some safety people to keep the sharks away, medical staff, all that sort of thing. You got to have a plan. You got to be, and it's like it's a 60-hour swim, 65-hour swim to do this, and so it's exhausting for everyone involved. This is the two Oscar nominations are for Best Actress and Supporting Actress for Annette Bening as Diana Nyad and Jodie Foster, who we've also just seen in True Detective Night Country, if you're watching that as well. I almost said that's our setup, Zach. What do you think? Zach has not seen this. The movie, it spends the money in weird places. You have an incredible performances by our leads, but then you got that Netflix cheapness that like some of the scenes, like you can tell you're indoors in a pool, you're not out on the ocean. Some weird CGI and screen. It's a little too long. It's a full 2 hours. You could probably cut 20 minutes from it. It's a little paint by number where, our mean character learns to be a nicer person, and she does work hard to overcome this. There's some personal demons to overcome as well. A lot of the water stuff is pretty cool. Apparently, Annette Bening was, spending 8 hours in a pool every day to learn how to be a good swimmer. So it's fine. It reminds me of Zach's review of American Fiction, where it's really, this is getting, this is why Margot Robbie wasn't nominated for Best Actress. This movie on Netflix that no one's seen. Also, I just read something that from, because I was doing research on Diana Nyad. This kind of takes the wind out of the sails. Her achievement was not ratified. She did. This is historical, so it's not a spoiler. She does manage to swim from Cuba to Florida, but her achievement was kind of stripped. It was not ratified. Guinness Book of World Records took away the achievement, mostly because there weren't enough kind of third-party independent witnesses for it. And there were some conflicting reports. It just wasn't documented well enough to give it to her. So that's a little disconcerting, but it's still an incredible story. It's about not giving up on your dreams. She accomplishes something in her 60s, which she could not do in her 20s, which is really inspiring. So that's kind of the film. It's inspiring. It's it's got a lot of positives. It's got a lot of cheese, and it's got a lot of bad effects in some places, particularly when a lot of the swimming scenes, a lot of, there's stuff kind of happening underwater. Some of it looks great. It looks like National Geographic, and some of it, it's like, okay, you're in a bathtub, like pretending that there's a storm, kind of look.
Well, that's actually a perfect opportunity for me to give you a chance to breathe and collect your thoughts. I wanted to ask about direction. The directors for this film, Jimmy Chin and Elizabeth Chai Vasarhelyi. Boy, it's a tough name. They are the directors of documentary features. They did The Rescue. They did Free Solo, which got nominated for Best Documentary just a couple of years ago, I think, about climbing the really big rock without any
Yeah.
without any harnesses or safety or anything. Obviously, a nightmare to shoot. There's behind the scenes footage of that, of them figuring out how to film a guy climbing up a huge thing without any supports, and if that's even okay. In the documentary space, I think these creators are uniquely positioned. Like, they've done some really unique work, but now obviously they've transitioned into narrative with this feature. Giving it a watch, looking at it, maybe revisiting it with that lens. I think you nailed it really good. I think a lot of it probably looks like National Geographic, right? Like that. This is the stuff they do best. The stuff that doesn't work, I think, I wanted to ask, where do you think these directors maybe could use some improvement, or maybe was somewhere that you felt was weak that, looking back, maybe that could be, I don't know, could be attributed to?
The documentary style stuff, when they're out in the ocean on the bow, where they're doing that open ocean swimming, that stuff looks great. You just got to stick to it the whole time, because you can tell, like, there's night scenes where you're in like some studio big, like, reservoir, or like they build studios for water when you need big water stuff, and it looks like it. You can tell the boat's not really moving. You're just like, oh, there's a storm, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's too long. It's super Oscar baity, which I'm just really disappointed after seeing this, that Margot Robbie does not have that Oscar nomination, and Annette Bening does, because Diana Nyad is not a character that's easy to like. Like I said, she's very stubborn. She's very kind of cruel. She thinks everyone around her sucks. She's like, no one tries as hard as me. I'm the best. Everyone is weak. I can, and that's part of her character's journey, and is learning to be a little bit more personable. And it's fine. Jodie Foster's fine. She's good. She's good. It's not a standout for like, oh my gosh, that's the performance we need to award.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna,
the
go
script
ahead.
could tighten up for sure.
I was going to say, like, I rarely see a performance by Foster or Benning that I don't enjoy. And looking at Foster as kind of the coach in this, I feel like maybe coming off True Detective, I'm a little warm on her for sure. Benning, like, I genuinely do not believe she could swim that whole distance. So, and I know it's a fantasy movie, and I get that. It's just a role. But seeing it on Netflix, it just gives it this sheen of fakery that I don't love. And so I wanted to ask about some of the hazards, right? Obviously, it's a dangerous journey. Jellyfish, sharks, all that stuff. Does it make for at least like a harrowing third act? Does that make for something particularly exciting? Does it pick up the pace, I guess? Or does it look as paint by numbers as maybe a cynic would feel looking at the trailer?
It is paint by number, but it does do it pretty well. It took her 5 attempts to successfully make this swim, so we see all 5, and so she fails for most of them. And the sharks are less of an issue as much as the jellyfish. The jellyfish are the huge problem, because they don't really know how to keep them away from a long time. And like on one of the attempts, she nearly dies because she's basically attacked by jellyfish, and she starts having an allergic reaction to the medicine they give her. They got to pull her out of the boat, do CPR, and like there are some high stress moments, and it's also you can easily be blown off course. You have to have a good navigator that knows all about like the winds and the currents and can keep you. And that's part of what goes wrong, is she gets blown way off course and in a couple of the attempts, and they just have to stop after 30-40 hours of attempting, because it's like, we're too far off, we can't get back, like we got to pull you out of the water. So there's that part of the drama, I think, works pretty well. The jellyfish stuff is particularly I mean, they're all over her face and her body, like it's tough to watch. So that stuff is truly scary.
Boy, all right. Well, I mean that sounds pretty exciting. Like I dig that, and like, hey, who doesn't love a good sports training montage? I suppose it's time for recommendations. That's where I'm at. You've spoken on Oscar compatibility. I think hilarious thoughts, by the way. Great takes. I'm a big fan. Your Margot Robbie standing goes very much appreciated on
Yeah.
this side of the podcast. Andy, would you recommend Nyad?
If you're interested in it, if you're interested in this story, if in these characters, I definitely was, just because this had gotten a lot of Oscar buzz. It is fairly predictable. It is paint by number, but it's done pretty well. Part of it looks really good. Part of it looks really kind of rough, and kind of got this a lot of cheesy CGI in some ways. It is motivational to an extent. I kind of think it's weird when you have oh, look at these privileged white women overcoming their dream their dreams to swim really far. Uh, but Diana Nyad is somewhat of a celebrity. She's been on Dancing with the Stars a couple of times. She's a motivational speaker, has written books and things like this. She was on CBS Wide World of Sports for a really long time. So if you're interested in the character and in the story, I'd say watch. But it's not like a must watch, must see, like something like The Zone of Interest or movies like that we've been talking about.
Shoot, I forgot to ask in there while I'm thinking about it. Do you think it would have played better in a theater? And why did Netflix not put it out if it's an Oscar contender?
I actually thought it would, because a lot of the stuff underwater, a lot of the big boat shots when they're out in the open ocean by themselves, a lot of that I thought would work really well on screen. There's a lot of night scenes which are really cool. In a way, to keep her on track, they have this kind of this LED thing floating off the boat in the water that she tracks, and like that's an interesting thing, and there's a lot of interesting visuals around that. I think it would have worked pretty well on the big screen. But Netflix is staunchly against a theatrical release. They're essentially trying to kill theaters. They would very much like that for that to happen, and for everyone to stay home and watch Netflix. So they are not supportive of the theatrical experience at all.
Mm. Certified Netflix hater, Dr. Draper. You heard it here first, folks. Now I'm kind of in the same boat. Netflix needs to put their stuff in theaters. Whatever Ryan Johnson's next movie is going to be is barely going to be in there. David Fincher's last film was barely in there. It's a big miss from Netflix on content strategy. Maybe that's why they lost their lead, their 7-year lead for films, huh? Like the guy running that whole department. We talked about that just a couple episodes ago. And if you want to hear that episode, you can go back and check out our catalog on Off Script Film Review with all of our stuff on YouTube and iTunes and everywhere else. But before we get to that, Andy, we got to wrap up the show. What are we watching next week?
So we're watching the kind of comedy caper called Drive Away Dolls, which is not a Coen Brothers movie, an Ethan Coen solo feature. It's 84 minutes, starring Margaret Qualley and Geraldine Viswanathan and Beanie Feldstein. It's a bit of a crime caper gone wrong. They're accidental criminals. It's kind of a road movie. Looks pretty funny. We're interested in seeing that. And then we're going to figure out something else to watch, either on streaming or release. And upcoming, the Tenet, the re-release of Christopher Nolan's Tenet is this weekend as well. If you're interested in catching that back in theater and IMAX, I might try and steal away a screening of that. And of course, the week after, a week from Thursday, we're going to be catching Dune Part 2 on March, which it comes out March 1st. That's just an FYI release for those Dune heads. Looking forward to that. But next week, Drive Away Dolls and TBA.
Very excited about Dune 2. I might try to get on that Tenet screening with you. I saw you sent me something about that, and I've been a mess this week until I haven't gotten to it. But for what it's worth, I think Drive Away Dolls might be secretly good. It's less than feature length. It's only one of the Coen brothers, but something about it's got a Raising Arizona kind of manic comedy energy to it that I think might, maybe there's a chance. So I'm looking forward to talking about it next week or the week after on the show. And to stand by on the streaming thing, we'll find something good. We always do. If you want to keep up with what we're doing here on Off Script Film Review, the best way to do that is to subscribe to the show as you are listening or watching it right now. If you're watching us on Facebook, follow us on Facebook. If you see this clip on Twitter, follow us on Twitter. If you see us on Instagram, throw us a follow over there. And if we're on YouTube, where huge things are happening for the channel, we got individual reviews, clips, all kinds of things going on YouTube. You can subscribe to us there as well to get new videos delivered straight to you. Obviously, the audio version of the show has always and will always be available for our audio podcast listeners out there on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartMedia, wherever you're listening to us. That's where we are. And we'll be here next Tuesday Probably. We'll talk about Driveway Dolls, and we'll definitely be here to talk about Dune and other films in the future. That big episode 250 is coming up. Andy and I have been down in the trenches, down in the lab, figuring out what we're going to do. We got big plans. I'm sure we have big plans, and we're looking forward to putting that together for you, and that's in the coming weeks. In the meantime, thank you for listening to Off Script Film Review. Thanks for listening, gang. We appreciate it. From all of us at Off Script Film Review. Well, hold on. I almost forgot. You can check out other content from us at our website, offscriptfilmreview.com, and you can email us correspondence, mail@offscriptfilmreview.com, right into the show. Tell us what you think. Tell us if Madam Web is so bad it's good. Tell us if Sony needs to pivot. Let us know what you think about Nyad or American Fiction, any other movies you got in mind. We love talking about movies. That's why we do it every week. So, from all of us at Offscript Film Review, the home of bold cinema, I'm Zach Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Draper.
Thanks for watching.